And hello, everybody. I'm going to ask everybody to just pop in a hello in the chat and take themselves off video. We're just starting right here. This is my first time doing this streaming live. I think I'm unmuted. You will see me on top. Sarah, are you able to figure this out? I am going to let me put this in the chat box here. Hi, can you please? Okay. Hi, everybody. I think the technological pieces are in place. I see the live sign. Oh, okay. You got booted out. Let's admit you back in and let us get started. Okay. So you can pop hi in the chat box if you'd like, and we will get started. I just want to introduce myself. I'm Gelly Asofsky. This is our first Ask Me Anything, Pick My Social Worker Brain live, starting today, Mondays at 11. We'll just chat for a couple of minutes as we see if anybody else is going to connect here on Zoom. And as we're streaming live on Facebook, I have got to look at my other device and make sure that I am seeing feedback from Facebook. If there are any questions, so let's take a couple of minutes to pull this all together. How's the weather out there? It's a little rainy over here, but we are still, I think spring is on its way. I see the trees coming out, so hopefully this is all, we're going to get the nice weather very soon. Just 1 second. And here we are. Okay, so I've got myself set up here. If you're live. And let's give it another couple of minutes. Any questions? Okay. So the first thing is, I'd like to ask you if you can just pop in where you're from and ask any questions that you have. Hold on, this is strange. I'm hearing myself double. So let's just hope this is all going to work out. Okay. So what I'd like to do is start introducing myself. My name is Geli Yasovsky. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a child and family therapist now for over 20 years. I can't believe it. I'm also a mother and a grandmother of two little kids. So I'm steeped in the world of children and parenting, both personally and professionally. So as a child and family therapist, I work with all areas related to children and families. So it runs the gamut from simple problems like anxiety, anger management. Well, they're not always simple. Parenting, parents wanting to connect with their children, to more complex problems that raising families can have, like when parents are divorced, when children aren't listening, when problems are need professional attention because parents just don't know what to do with themselves. It's just gotten too big, too much, too out of control. That's sometimes when I'm called in. I'm also an EMDR trauma therapist, which means that I work with a lot of trauma, a lot of children, teenagers, adults that have really struggled and are struggling to overcome many difficult things, traumas that should never have happened, accidents, fires, abuse, sexual abuse, parental neglect, all those things, unfortunately, they happen. And what are we going to do about it? We need to try and be a support system for each other in the world that we're living in. And that's what I've chosen to do as a therapist. But here on this Ask Me Anything live weekly chat, my hope is to reach out to all of you, not just the parents that are in my office coming and reaching out for help, but parents that just have general questions. They wish they could get a professional's insight, whether it's something with parenting or something related to a child's mental health, a divorce, anything that's going on in the family system that could be causing conflict, could be causing a mother to feel like, oh my goodness, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to help my kids. I feel out of control. My children feel out of control. I feel overwhelmed. And that's the purpose of the Ask Me Anything. So it's in my schedule. You have questions, I will try to give you answers. Not every answer is available in a just a format like this. And sometimes I will say that something requires professional intervention, but I'm hoping that this little bit gives you the feeling that you're not alone in this big wide world. So before we get into our questions for today, I've got some pre-submitted ones. And if you're live with me, you can post your things in the chat and I'll try to answer. Or you can see this afterwards, is to just talk a little bit about the challenges of parenting in the modern 21st century. Parenting, I think, has always been a challenge. Parenting has, there's so much written about being a mother and what it really means to be a mother, the ins and outs of the daily routine of balancing our needs versus the needs of our children. This is something that, it's age old. It's something that's been around forever. And mothers are the foundation of families. Mothers carry so much. Mothers are there just from literally carrying our children, giving birth to them, raising them, teaching them morals and values, listening to their emotional issues, and just being there day in, day out, nourishing our children, both with home and hearth, and, making the meals that are needed to feed our children and inculcating them with everything they need to know, doing the homework, taking them to friends, just on every end where you turn around, a mother's work from day one is to show up for her children. And in order to show up for our children, we need to show up for ourselves, right? We need to feel like, okay, we're not just falling apart. We need to have the strength to do what we need to do as parents, to raise the happy, healthy families that we so want, right? So I think that the challenge of being a mother has just gotten increasingly more challenging as time has moved on, especially in the modern 21st century. The work-life home balance has felt so challenging. Mothers feel torn apart at the seams. Just tell me what I could do to raise a happy, healthy family. Just tell me what to do to avoid the mines, the landmines that every parent talks about. Like, how do I get my kids to sleep properly? How do I get my picky eaters to eat? How do I live in a world that's gone upside down with COVID? I mean, let's talk about COVID for a minute. It's really turned everything upside down. The world that we live in is so complicated, so overwhelming. And depending where you live, I mean, I've got friends all over. So while I'm in New York, I've got friends in different states. I've got friends in Italy, in Israel, in the UK. And I'm just hearing about different situations in different parts of the world and how it's affecting people. In my neighborhood, thank God, COVID has really, many people are vaccinated already. We've gone through 3 rounds of COVID. And at this point, people are coming out of their house. The spring is here. People are able to go to the parks and go hiking and go into stores. And it feels like a lot of normalcy has been restored. I mean, I've been very cautious because of my corona illness, but thank goodness I'm vaccinated now, so I can go out and have a semi-normal life, which is really important. And more parents than ever before are feeling like everything just landed on them. Everything is just, oh, it's me. We don't, like, if we can't send the kids to school, if we can't send the kids to the neighbors, if we can't see our grandparents. I mean, it's been a year now, right? And all these things really affected parents, affected mothers. It's just like we're carrying so much. So no matter where you are right now, no matter what your circumstance is, all of us want to feel like, okay, we can take care of ourselves and we can take care of our children. There's so much anxiety that children are coming through, anger management issues as a result of being locked up, of being in Zoom school and telephone school, no schedules, and it's really impacted everyone. And I could say, depending on where you live, technology for children has made a steep inroad. No matter which culture you come from, children more and more are using technology, and parents are using technology to babysit their kids. So there's all these pieces. We know deep inside the kids don't belong on all that technology, right? We know that really kids need to be off tech and in play and in connection and in hobbies and in riding their bikes and in doing activities that make them feel good. But we're overwhelmed. We are. And no one more than me can say this. I mean, as a mother, I think when my kids were younger, I could have used support. When my kids were preteens, I could have used support. When my kids were teenagers, I could have used support. And that's sometimes what I say as a therapist to people who come to me. I said, I could just as easily be sitting in the same chair as you. The roles could be reversed. Parenting and needing help for parenting is not a mental illness. It's just a challenge that no one should have to raise children alone. We all should feel like we have someone to reach out to, whether it's our mother, it's our sibling, it's an aunt, an uncle, a mentor, a therapist, anybody, just so that we're not alone and that we put our best foot forward to raise our children. That's what's important for us. So here I hope to do a little teaching every week on a kid-related mental health issue. and I'm open to suggestions, and that will be fine. And I'm also going to be answering questions. So we're going to get started with some questions. I see, Sarah, if you have a question, you can post it in the chat. If you know how to work the chat on Zoom, there's a little thing right near participants that says chat, and you can post it in the thing below, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. I'm also going to check on my phone on the live on Facebook and see if there are any questions there at this point. There's always a first for everything. So I am learning as we go. And then I've got some pre-submitted questions. Some people just didn't want to put their questions out in the chat, and they sent it to me live. So I am going to just check and see. Okay. And let me see again here. We are, where is this showing that I am live here? And here we are. Let's see. Okay. So let's just start with question number 1. Question number 1 is about sibling rivalry. Who can relate to this one? I have a family ages 5 through 12, and the kids are fighting and they are hitting each other. Do you have any advice? So here's my advice on this one. First of all, I just want to say this is such a difficult one. Kids will be kids, and sometimes they're just going to fight with each other. I remember my kids fighting. I mean, it's not comfortable. It's not fun. But when you notice that there's more fighting, there's more physical fighting, want to take a step back and really kind of see what's going on, I would recommend that you start talking to the kids, the older ones, and just take a half hour and just sit. Don't be judgmental. Just notice. Just pay attention and ask what's going on. I notice there's fighting. I notice that there's a lot of hitting. And I'm just wondering, what's going on? Is something bothering you? I mean, that's the first thing I always want to know. What's bothering my child? And after that, you want to really assess what's going on in the family unit. Is there something that's going on in the house between you and your spouse, you and the kids, your mental health, their mental health, any financial strain, any family strain, any medical illness, anything that could be contributing to the children acting out? Because if this is a systemic issue and it's the entire family, we just want to rule out what's going on around and around before we go to a specific child. Okay, once we rule that out, we want to really look at the different ways of addressing physical fighting with the younger ones and with the older ones. With a younger child that's 5 or 6, you sit them on the lap and you say, no hitting. No, count till 10, count till 20, gently hold them on your lap and then just say, what's going on? Did anyone hurt you? Did anyone say anything not nice to you? What's really happening? That's what we want to do with the younger one. Once they get to, I think that could work 6, 7, 8. Once you get to 9, 10, 11, 12, we do have to have consequences to actions, natural consequences to actions. So again, don't fight back, don't hit back, don't shout back, but there has to be a rule in place for how the family deals with physical fighting, with hitting. And, well, we used to say the answer to everything was timeout. You send your child to the room, you have them think about what's going on, why they're acting this way. Nowadays, we really want to recommend time in. We want to connect with children. We want to understand what's going on with them. That doesn't mean there aren't consequences to actions. So we want to make sure that that is something that's in place. Well, what's a kind of natural consequence that you can give a 12-year-old for hitting? Does the child lose privileges because they're acting out? I mean, that's something for you to decide. What is something that a child could understand that's time sensitive, right in the moment, that's not punishing them for tomorrow, for the next day, for the next week, but right now, that there's really something that just is a consequence that shows them this is not okay, and that we arrange a repair from one child to the next, where the child has to make amends. Child has to really, show their remorse, show that they are feeling sad about what they did, and that they make sure not to do it again. I mean, isn't that what we would want for ourselves? So on a micro level, we want to look at our system. We want to look at our children, whether it's 2 children, whether it's 4 children in that age range, and just see what we can do to set up a system so that children feel safe in the home. That there's, not this out of control chaos where children are just lashing out at each other. I also want to say that I have sometimes recommended that families make a chart, like a being kind to each other chart that's in the kitchen, sort of like a Candyland little chart. And they write all the kindnesses in every single box. And when it's done, it can be done quickly. It can take a week. It can take a few weeks. Then the family celebrates together. So I like that idea, something that the family is working together on a project. So there's different levels that I've answered this question here, and I'm hoping that it resonates with you and that some part of this is helpful. Okay, just looking down at the other questions that came in here. Just get a sip of water. I mean, this is one I think every mother can relate to. What if I have no energy to play with my kids? Yeah, I've been there. I've done that. We all need to take responsibility for our self-care so that when our children are home, we get to have the energy we need to play with them. This is critical. This is very important because it's not a child's responsibility to get the mother to have energy to play with the child. It's the mother's responsibility to figure out on the back end how to have the energy, the mental space, the physical space, the emotional bandwidth to play with the child. And that requires practice. And even if you can just start with like 10 minutes a day of connecting to your child, that's a start. And while some people are more creative, and like I teach in my parenting course, parenting with the power of play, the non-tech way, all these different kind of games that you can connect to your child. 2 minutes here, 5 minutes there, 10 minutes there. Some parents like a structured game activity. So pull out a game, buy a board game, play with your kid, read a book with your child, listen to your child. Just start with 10 minutes here, 5 minutes there, 2 minutes there. And before you turn around at the end of the day, you've connected with your child for a half-hour day, and isn't that great? And that's what we're looking for. So let's work on that mindset, mommy, and start figuring out where you could have emotional energy to connect with your child and engage in loving play. Okay, next question. My kids are anxious. Do you have a book to recommend? Okay, this question did not come in with an age. So for younger children, I recommend Wemberly Worried. I love that book. She worries about everything, Wemberly. She's just worrying and worrying and worrying. It is a fabulous book. I'm going to look up the author right now on Amazon so I can give you the information so you can order the book. It's not expensive. I really like that one. And the author is, make sure not to slaughter this man's name, Kevin Henkes or Hanks, Henkes. Great book, $7.99 on Amazon. For the children that are a little older, I like, for girls especially, the American Girls series about emotions. And again, I'm looking this up on Amazon. It's the American Girl books. It's not the series about the characters. It's here. There's a great book, Your Happiest You, The Care and Keeping of Your Mind and Spirit. That's a very sweet book. There is also the book that I really like. It's called The Feelings Book. The Care and Keeping of Your Emotions. And I find that that book is really nice and relevant, and it teaches all about emotions. So anxiety is one of the emotions, and it's really good for children. What I find is that the books by the American Girl series, the help, self-help series, it's geared towards ages 8 to 12. So it's sort of like innocent in a way. And while every parent needs to pre-read books and check books and see if they're appropriate for their family, I find the American Girl series to be really helpful. As kids get older, there are different books that you can check out on about like CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, for anxiety. Oops, I forgot. This one is my favorite to recommend to parents for ages 6 to 12, What to Do When You Worry Too Much. I'll also look up the author. It's a workbook. I recommend reading 2 to 3 pages a week and implementing the suggestions in the book. What to Do When You Worry Too Much book. The author is Dawn, Dawn Huebner, Huebner. It has got over 5,000 4.5-star reviews on Amazon. I second that review. I have found it really, really helpful to kids in my practice. I find it's like having 6 therapy sessions about anxiety. Okay. So I see a question coming in here. My daughter is 8 years old. She has an appointment by the dentist and she is hysterical. She is petrified. Okay, that's a really good question because many children have dental anxiety. When my children were younger, we literally went with our dolls the first, like at 6 or 7 years old, and the dentist worked on the dolls before the dentist worked on their teeth because they were anxious. So I would just ask a couple of questions first before we get into solutions. Number one, does she have dental trauma? Because if she went to the dentist as a little kid, I've heard many children being strapped down, held down by restraints in order to get their teeth done. And that is real dental trauma. Has she ever gotten a Novocaine shot and wasn't fully numb? That could have led to dental trauma with extra pain. Has she heard any stories about dentists or dental things that went wrong? And maybe that's contributing to it. The first step is really to talk to a child and see what they're hysterical about, what they're scared of, what they're petrified about, because a dentist and his tools, could be kind of scary. I like to recommend the Bernstein Beers book. Is great when it comes to Bernstein Beers and dentists for the younger ones. Let me read in the chat. Yeah, I understand. She went one time, it was great. The second and third time, the doctor gave her 3 needles, and since then she's been complaining that she feels pain. Ugh, I feel so bad for her, and I feel bad for you, but I'm wondering what the dentist says about pain, about why she's feeling pain. There could be so many reasons why. This is when I really like telling parents about the power of EMDR, which is a great trauma therapy. It doesn't have to be a long-term therapy. If your child has a dental phobia, EMDR can be something that can really, really help. But I want to talk practically speaking here. I mean, I'm wondering if the dentist is explaining what's going on. I'm wondering what's going on in your daughter's mouth. I'm wondering if she's gone to her pediatrician to see if there's anything else that we need to worry about. But you could desensitize children to going to the dentist. I'm seeing one more comment here. It runs in the family. My husband, my mother-in-law would run away from the dentist chair. I never discussed with her about my husband that he's scared. I think it's a really good idea, Sarah or Sarah, to really talk to your child and tell her that anxiety tends to run in the family with dentists. You don't have to make anybody be, weird or like silly for having a fear. It's a thing, just like people are afraid of flying on airplanes sometimes, right? So when we demystify it, when we say it's something in the family, people get scared of dentists, what we could do, what could we do to make you feel better? Maybe we could go out to eat, or maybe we could get a special treat after you go to the dentist. No candies, please. But you know what I mean? We could do something special for you that it could be really, really helpful. I think so. And also, you really want to just check on the medical end of things, like 3 needles, still complaining about pain. I really want to understand more. Yes, here's what Sarah is saying. I like what you said. We should discuss what's going on. I was thinking about giving her money. What do you say about giving money? I believe in giving experiences. So if you want to go to the toy store with her and have her pick out something nice, I mean, given if this is a huge thing, then go ahead and go with her. If you want to go get her ice cream, go with her and get ice cream. Do something nice with her because she's trying so hard. Good luck with that. That's really not easy. Question, I am divorced and I'm struggling to connect with my kids when they come home from visitation. Oh, if I had an answer for each kid and each parent that was going through that. That's a tough one. That's a real, real tough one. So I just want to say, when your children, the first thing is, let me backtrack. The first thing is, please don't be in a fight with your ex. Please don't put your kid in that position. So not cool, so not fun, so overwhelming to a child. And the second thing I want to say is, take a nap before your kids come home. Do something nice for yourself before they come home. So many parents have reported that kids come home from visitation and they're literally crazy for the next 3 days till they get their child back. And then all of a sudden, we're back on a visitation schedule again. And this is the story of the life. So I really recommend creating as good and as kind and as calm an atmosphere when the children come home, not prying, but yet letting them know that you're available, and not demanding, like if they come home, if their dad always brings them home like an hour after when they're supposed to be home, don't demand that they go into bed a half hour later. So you prepare mentally for having a later night. And that's really going to make a difference in terms of connecting with them, in terms of just making space so that they're not punished for going to their father. I mean, it's not their fault. You know, chaos of a divorce is not a child's fault. And you as a mom need to do everything you can to protect your child. That's what it's about. That's what we signed up for when we had those kids, right? When we had our kids. Yeah, and there's so many other layers to that. You know, some children come home hungry from visitation. Some children come home rattled. Some children come home needing a lot of hugs. Some children come home needing to go out for a drive, and you know, when they're not talking face to face, the words come out. But mainly the mindset you as a mother need to have is to really work on being present for your child, to have that connection, to have that opening, to not be looking for what happened that could be the next CBS report, but just listening. I mean, sometimes there are very big challenges that need to be dealt with, and reports do have to be made, and attorneys do have to be called. But what I want to just say is just focus on connecting, on being there, on making space for your child. This is what it's really about when the children come home from visitation. All right, we've got one more question here. Yeah, who can't relate to this one? What if I'm not in the mood? What if I'm just not in the mood of kids? They come home when they're done with school, just like not in the mood. There's no shortcut for this, mom. Mommies, I hate to be unpopular with this, but when we had our children, we committed to being there for them. And that's our job, that's our role, that's what we need to do. And we need to just make sure that we take care of ourselves so that we could be in the mood of taking care of our kids. I realize that my answer is similar to what if I'm not, I have no energy to deal, you know, to play with my kids, but really it boils down to the same thing. It's like we have work to do on ourselves. It's not a child's fault that we're not in the mood, that we have no energy, that we're, you know, we're burnt out, we're fizzled out, things are going on. Of course, we can't always protect our children from what's going on for us, but it's really, really important to make sure that we give our children what they need. We give our kids what they deserve. We give our kids what's really necessary for their well-being on a day-to-day basis. That's what we need to do. Okay, I'm just gonna check in with Facebook and just see if there were any questions that popped up while we've been talking. I guess this is something I have to research a little more, as I'm hearing myself double when I keep Facebook on. Let's see. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna have to figure out how to make this happen. But anyway, what I want to say is, if you're any other questions, you can pop them in the chat. You can always pre-submit questions to me either on Instagram, on Messenger, and some people are a bit shy about coming on Zoom and having a question, or coming on Facebook, and I totally respect that. Most people are totally okay with that, but that's why there are options. And what I want to do is I want to encourage you to connect with me on Parenting with Gelly, on Instagram, on Facebook. We have our Facebook group, Parenting with Gelly. And I offer free consults, free 15-minute consults to just check in with you, connect with you about your parenting goals, and see how I can be of help. And I am offering parenting courses. I have 2 courses, Parenting with Play, the non-tech way. That's launching online for the general public. And my goal with this course is to support all parents trying to have healthy, happy families, to raise healthy, happy children, to take away some of the tech and come into connection, to bond with our children, because our children are so critical. They're our future. They're our everything. And moms need extra support to raise healthy, happy children nowadays. That's just it. We can't do it alone. And it's practical, step by step, lots of games, live Q&As, and it is something that is my passion, and I am excited to share with you and to give you what I would have loved as a mother, what people around me would have loved when we were raising our kids. And then, being that I'm an Orthodox Jewish woman, I have the same course geared to the religious Jewish community, Parenting with Play, Playful Parenting 2.0. I've renamed this course, and that is a telecourse. You can also reach out to me and find out about that. And I am happy to connect with every one of you to give you what I can from my heart about parenting and play and connection and mental health. That's what it's all about. Together we can make a difference in the lives of all of our children. And that's the goal of Ask Me Anything, Pick My Social Worker Brain. After 20 years in practice, I just want to do more. I want to give more. I want to give back. And this is my little opportunity here. So thank you for being with me today. And I look forward to seeing you next week. I think I have answered the questions. And I just want to say I am open to feedback about what you want to learn a little more about in terms of children's mental health, in terms of different components of parenting. So connect with me, let me know what you want to see here, and then I can make it happen. Okay? Here's to a great day, everybody. Take care. One other thing, if you're catching this as a replay, then just write #replay in the comments when you connect and when you watch. All right, take care.